Rachel from the Stitch Sisters here, and Nikki and I are filming a video today to show you how to put a zip into a lined dress. We've had a number of people in class ask about this recently, so we thought the easiest thing to do would be to actually film you a video. So this is a lovely dress that Nikki has made. She's got to the point where she's sewn everything, it's all ready to go except for the hem and the zip. So if I just show you on this dress, it's not a fully lined dress, it goes to the waist, but the same principle would apply if you had a fully lined dress, it wouldn't make any difference. Okay, so before we can actually insert our zip, we need to decide what kind of zip we want to put in. So for this kind of dress, which is an evening dress, I would usually choose a lapped zip or an exposed zip, just because I think that they give you the nicest finish. And Nikki's chosen an exposed zip for this dress. So before we can do anything else, we actually need to press under our seam allowance. So it's a 5/8 seam allowance, and we're going to be pressing it along the back of the dress, so just to the opening down to where the stitches at the centre back stop, and right up the top of the back of the dress, but we're also then going to continue pressing the lining under at 5/8 until the end of that. So right from the bottom of the lining all the way down to the other one. Now if you had a fully lined dress, then somewhere along here you would have an opening, which again where your stitches have been sewn from the hem up to the bottom of the zipper opening. So that whole area in between would need to be pressed. So I've gone ahead and pressed under the seam allowance at 5/8, and I've done that on the dress fabric, and then I've continued that into the lining section as well. And now what we're going to need to do is to position our zip between the two layers. So I've got here a 22-inch standard dress zip, and it's one with nylon teeth, which I would recommend as a beginner. If you're new to zips, then metal ones are a little bit more tricky, because if you hit the teeth then you're gonna break your needle. But with nylon zips, if you accidentally sew on them, you can just unpick it and they should still work. So what we need to do first of all is to take the top, a zipper tape here that extends above the zipper head. We're just going to fold that out of the way so that we can then take the zip and insert it between the two layers. So I've got my lining on the back and my dress fabric on the front, and I'm just going to go ahead and insert that, and I'm going to pin through both of the layers as I go. Now you'll notice that I am pinning perpendicular to the seam, and that is to allow me to be able to sew right up close to those pins before I need to take them out. Technically you should really base this in place, and that means that you would get a hand sewing needle and thread and you'd hand stitch that in place, and that way you can guarantee that it's not actually going to move whilst you're sewing it. We're going for the quick and easy option here. So I'm just going to continue pinning that all the way down along the zip, and I'll come back to you when that's done, and Nikki will be ready to sew the first side of the zip.
Okay, Rachel's handed it over to me now, and I'm going to do the actual sewing. So we've pinned it all in place, and I've just put my zipper foot onto my machine. I've gone in a middle position and I've put the zipper foot on the right hand side so that I can get close to the zipper teeth like that. I am going to start, before I start to actually sew, I'm going to move the zipper head out of the way just for that first couple of inches so that it doesn't get in my way. I can get started and then I will stop and I'll show you what to do when we get to that point. So I've gotten down as far as I want to get before I need to move the zipper head out of the way again. So I've stopped with my needle down. My machine does this automatically, but you may find that you need to do it manually. And then I'm just going to lift my foot and I'm going to swizzle the fabric round, and I'm just going to, actually if I take these pins out first, I'm going to pull the zip head back up out of the way so that it doesn't get in my way for the rest of the sewing, and then it's all sorted. It sometimes can be a bit fiddly, but there we go, it's gone now. Foot back down and off we go.
Here we are, Nikki's sewn in the first half of the zip, and you can see it looks lovely and neat. on the outside and the inside. And now what we need to do is to sew the other half of the zip. Now the reason we're doing this in 2 stages is quite important. So whenever you're putting a zip in a dress, you will have a waist seam. So in this case, we've got a waistband, so there's actually 2 seams. And I think it's quite important to get a nice professional look to make sure that, I don't know how well you can see that, but to make sure that the waist seams are continuing, so they're meeting on the other side of the zip, because what you don't want is to sew it together and end up like that. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to get those matched. So I'm going to just hold that in place and pop my pin in to secure that, and do the same with the other one. It may be that you need to do that a couple of times to actually get it right. So for instance, I've got a little ripple there now, so I think this one can probably move down a tiny bit. So I think that seam's just coming out a little bit there. There we go. And that's a better match. Now that I've got those matched, I can actually open the zip. Just trying to angle it around my pin head there. There we go. And it's much easier to now attach the rest of the zipper tape with just the one half. But now that I've got that matched, then I know that once I sew it up, it's still going to meet when that's done. So I'm going to go ahead and pin the rest of this zip, just as I did the first, so that the lining is folded down and the zipper tape is being sandwiched in between, and then right the way down to the bottom, and then we'll be ready to sew in the second half.
So we've got it all pinned now, and we've undone the zip at this point. We're going to sew from the top down to the bottom of the zip. It's important to still do it in the same direction, because if there's going to be any mismatch, you're pushing it back down to the bottom, but it also means that it's continuous and everything was making sense. So I've switched my zipper foot around, so my zipper foot is now on the left hand side, and I should go into the right hand position. That will get me a slightly closer, and I'll pop the foot down and we're ready to start.
So here's the lovely Nikki wearing her finished dress. And if you spin around for us, Nikki, then we can see the exposed zip in the back. So you can see an equal amount of the zip all the way on both sides, and it looks very lovely.
So that's it. We hope that is helpful to you, and we hope that you can follow along and do the same with your dresses. Best of luck. If you need any other tutorials, just pop a message below and we'll see what we can do. Bye.